Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and the Bias Plus reports. And this is Ben and Barry on football.
Hello out there, this is Ben Dickerson, your co-host. As promised from last week's show this week, we will be focusing on the upcoming NFL draft and all the strongest players at each offensive position. On me, my opinion, the only opinion that really matters.
Ladies and germs, he truly believes that too. Don't don't laugh it off. He believes it. All right. Look, before we get started, let's just take a minute to breathe all of the sports news. We haven't even talked sports news. Normally we go to our Ben and Barry on football Facebook page and go through all that list of stuff there, man, all the articles, so much craziness, so much news. I say craziness, there's some crazy. Deebo Samuel's wanting to leave the Niners. To me, that's craziness that's going on, My response would probably even surprise you. What do you think my response would be about Deebo leaving the Niners?
I actually read your response. Yeah, I know. I know. But I've read a whole bunch of stuff. So let me see if I remember correctly. I believe it went a little something like, if he wants to go, he can go. I wish we could have kept Mostert instead. Sort of sounded to me like you're basically saying Shanahan made him, and he may not do as well somewhere else as he's done here. Am I right or off? You didn't seem as upset about it as I thought you would be. Let's put it that way.
Let me tell you something, man. When you've lived through Joe Montana leaving to go play for the Chiefs, you know what I mean? It gives you a certain perspective, and you can't get but so excited. Now, I did say, A, I want to keep him. I want Deebo here, okay?
Sure.
B, I did say that if he were to go, that this would be a great draft to maybe find someone with a similar type skill set, if that's what you wanted. If you're looking for speed, running capability, and can catch, you could probably find that in the draft. Mostert, I believe, can do all of that. And he was the fastest guy on the field, so I thought he could do it. But the interesting thing, and I'm trying to make this real quick, is that I mentioned on Madden, they had Deebo listed as the second string running back, which I thought was weird because, I don't play like that. I put somebody else in there and all of that. I'm like, dang, they got him in as a running back. And I went back and I looked at the contracts, top contracts for running backs versus wide receivers. Wide receivers are make more than double what the running backs are making at the top of the line. So if I'm Deebo, how much you want to use me like a running back, that needs to be special because I don't use him like that. I don't run him on a lot of reverses. He's a wide receiver. I put him in the slot and all that. He beats people, catches the ball. So right. I believe he can do all of that. And you've got this whole new stage of wide receiver range of contracts ever since the young man from the Cardinals, right? Got that contract. He was like wasn't even the top receiver. He kind of set a floor, and then everybody went up from there,
Yeah, he wasn't even considered a number one receiver on his own team. And then
Christian Kirk's his name.
Christian Kirk, right?
Right.
And then you got Devontae, and then Tyreek Hill breaks the bank. So it's a whole new world out there for wide receivers, and I don't blame them for trying to get on board with it, especially guys that were thinking about maybe looking into an extension of a contract that they already have, or their contract is going to be up very soon. that's something that they definitely have to look at because it's a lot more money out there. And, you know, everybody's going to judge what they think they should make on what their skill set is. What you said in reference to this being a good year to get a wide receiver, possibly for the 49ers, somebody that can do what Deebo can do, or maybe something else. You're absolutely right. This is a big year for wide receivers. The other thing is what you also talked about. Wide receivers make almost double what a running back does, averagely speaking. So if this particular guy can do something or has done something for his team that other guys to this point have not done, as far as a running back is concerned, even though he's a wide receiver, yeah, absolutely. He should be getting more. He should be getting what a top receiver is getting on top of something added on that a running back is getting because he's made himself special. It reminds me of, oh, my mind. I hate when I forget people's names. I'm looking right at his name. The running back.
I'm going to give you who it reminds me of, and I bet you it's the same person, but I said it was in reverse. Le'Veon Bell.
Exactly, Le'Veon Bell. I was going to say the running back from the Steelers. It's the same
running back
exact
get paid
situation.
like a wide receiver.
Yes.
But here Deebo is a wide receiver that might get paid like a running back.
No. So that will never happen. That will never happen.
Hey, look, if he gets tagged as a running back, okay, bro, it's not going to help. As soon, I've already read articles that are beginning to question how long he could even last in this role as a running back and physically. You know, they're already talking about that kind of stuff. That's the challenge with running backs. You know, this.
Okay, so we have several reasons why he all of a sudden has decided that he wants to be traded, and they're all legitimate sounding reasons, including that one. So I guess it'll remain to be seen until he decides if and when he wants to let people clearly know why he's asking for a trade, you know?
Well, actually, there was something that even came out today where he put a whole thing out there that said the only person who knows anything about this is me, the team, and my agent. So he put something out there today that already kind of put a bit of a kibosh on, you know? But again, this was just one of the stories that came popping out this week. And it's on the Ben and Barry on Football Facebook page. You can go there and read more about it. Remember Michael Sams?
Yes.
You know, the young man from Oakland has been kind of touted as being like the first openly gay NFL player. But Michael Sams beat that by like 15 years. He just
the only legitimate player. The only guy.
He didn't get much real time on the field. If you got.
I don't think he lasted a season.
But he's now a coach in, I believe, in the International Football League in France.
Great.
So it kind of came up in the news, you know, Michael Sams, got a coaching gig and everything. And I was like, I know that name from somewhere, and I had to look it up. So, but anyway, Ben and Barry on Football on Facebook at BNBOF, again on Twitter, on YouTube, because that's where the videos go. On YouTube under Ben and Barry on Football, you can just search that out. And again, Twitter and Instagram. We're not on LinkedIn, Benny. This is kind of a career without being a career without. This is fun. This is why we do it.
Yeah, we don't belong on LinkedIn.
All right. So again, so much news there, but the main focus of today's show is going to be part 2 of the lead-in to the Dickerson brothers mock draft.
Yeah, you could call
Dickerson
it that.
Mock draft.
You could call it that. But what I'm trying to do is make sure that everybody knows the names, and I'm sure you do. But I'm giving my opinion about who I think are the top 3, 4, possibly 5 guys at each position coming up in the draft. Last week, we did all the defensive positions. This week, we're going to do the offense. Are you ready? You ready for me to get going?
Go get him.
So I'm thinking right now, I probably want to go quarterback first, then we'll do the running backs, then we'll do the tight ends, and then we will finish with what I believe are the two strongest offensive positions as far as talent is concerned coming out this year, and that would be the offensive linemen and the wide receivers. We're about ready to get started. We're going to go with the quarterbacks first. I have 4 quarterbacks that I believe are the top quarterbacks coming out in the draft this year. I will start with number 4 and work up to my number 1. So at number 4, I have Desmond Ridder. Desmond Ridder is a quarterback out of Cincinnati. He's 6'3", 211 pounds. He ran the 40-yard dash at the combine in 4.52. So 4.52 is not slow. It's not super fast, but it's pretty good for a quarterback. And Desmond Ridder is a heck of a quarterback who played for a University of Cincinnati team that played extremely well last season, was in fact undefeated, and made it to the Final Four, the College Bowl series for the championship of college football before getting knocked off, I believe, by Alabama. So Ridder was a 4-year starter in college. He basically is a pocket passer, but he can run, and he's pretty effective at it when he does, even though he doesn't have blazing speed. He's a very effective runner. He has good poise in the pocket. He has very good throwing mechanics. He reads defenses really well, pre-snap and post-snap. Unfortunately, he only has average arm strength, which leads to inaccuracy issues on his intermediate and deep throws. So, as you'll notice as we go along, as I give each player, I'm going to talk about some good things about him, and if I have a weakness, I will express it, and that'll kind of explain why I'm putting them in the order that I'm putting them in. So again, his accuracy issues usually show up because of his average arm strength. Now, it doesn't mean he can't throw long. It just means he doesn't have a cannon, okay? But some of his long passes do fall short, and some of his intermediate throws, especially to the sidelines, can come up a little short from time to time. And the arm strength is the reason why. At number 3, I have Matt Corral from Ole Miss at the University of Mississippi. He's 6'2", 212. An injury prevented him from participating in the combine. I think he had an ankle injury, and I don't think he did any running at his pro day either. I couldn't find a 40 time for him, but he's a really good athlete. He's got a big heart, but he doesn't have ideal size. 6'2", 212 is a little on the smallish side. He has above average arm strength though, and his running ability is pretty good, but he needs to learn to slide once he gets into the league, because 212 pounds is not really big for a quarterback. So although he's made some pretty spectacular runs in college and taken some decent hits, they're not the kind of hits that he's going to want to take once he gets into the pros. So as soon as he gets into camp, they should start teaching him how to slide. But, you know, that's going to be important. He has a very quick release, but he sometimes holds the ball too long. Sometimes these quarterbacks that have particular strengths seem to develop weaknesses in other areas because they have this one attribute that allows them to get away with things when they're playing college ball. Once they get in the NFL, they got to tighten that stuff up. So that's probably something else that he's going to have to work on. So Matt Corral, he has the ability to escape the pocket when he gets in trouble, but his accuracy fails him when he has to throw on the run. Again, basically a pocket passer who has the ability to run, has pretty good speed, even though I don't have an actual 40 time for him. If you watch tape, you can see the kid can run. Okay, he has some quickness about him, but again, a little on the smaller side, so he doesn't want to be taking any big hits once he gets into the NFL. At number 2, we're looking at and this is going to disappoint some people, probably you, Barry. At number 2, I have Malik Willis from Liberty. And Malik Willis is 6'1", 220 pounds. Not ideal height for an NFL quarterback, but pretty good size at 220. He did not run the 40 at the combine or at his pro day. However, rumor has it he runs in the low 4.4s. Okay, so we'll have to take their word for it. This comes from coaches and scouts and what have you. The one thing is, the guy can definitely run. Okay, if you watch his game tape, you can see he's an effective runner. He has really good speed. He's also very effective at making people miss when he runs too. So he's an accomplished runner. We'll put it that way. I'm not going to say he's Lamar Jackson, but the guy can pick him up and put him down. And it definitely makes him what would be known as a dual threat, as the other 2 guys were basically pocket passers. This kid's a dual threat. He's got an elite arm strength. He can really, really throw. Saw him throw a couple of 60-yard bombs at the combine. Flawless on the money throws that traveled 60 to 65 yards in the air. Okay, so when I say elite arm strength, I'm not joking about this. Also, really good velocity, can really zip the ball short and intermediate. It gives him the ability to make any throw anywhere on the field, from the pocket or on the run. Now, he's good with his pre-snap reads. He works through his post-snap progressions when he's got good protection. But sometimes, if he has to move, he has some problems with accuracy. Unfortunately, he doesn't have great throwing mechanics. He just has a howitzer for an arm, which allows him to get the ball anywhere he wants to. But again, he's not a technician, okay? He doesn't have great throwing mechanics, and that's what's going to cause him some accuracy problems. He tends to muscle his passes and doesn't show much touch. And again, that's always going to lead to accuracy issues. So that's something that he's going to have to work on.
Hey, Ben.
Yes.
He had a walk-off bomb at the combine, didn't he? Or was it his pro day? It was one of the two. It was either his pro day or combine.
Basically, did them both.
It was like a 60-yard thing and just start laughing, running down. It's like a highlight. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. His arm strength is crazy.
6'2" is an interesting height. What would you say the optimum height that the NFL is looking for right now?
If every coach could have their way, I'd say probably 6'3.5" to 6'5".
So it's not like he's short like Kyler. You know?
Well, I found him listed at 6'1", and it's funny because when you look at different articles, different sites, different programs on television, you'll see a lot of heights and weights vary quite a bit. Really? I used to think that the combine heights and weights were pretty much the actual thing, but there's been some questions about that too. So I don't know. I got him at 6'1", 220. Some people have him at 6'2". I don't, but again, it's a little short, but he's 220. He's sturdy, and he's got a great arm. And he can move. He moves well.
How tall is Russell Wilson?
Russell Wilson?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Russell Wilson's barely 6 feet tall, 6'1".
So he's taller than Russell.
I would say so. They're probably about the same. I don't think
it's like on the lower edge of that preferred height.
Right. Sure. And the crazy thing is, we can go back and we can name Russell Wilson, Drew Brees. We can rattle off names of quarterbacks that were really good or great that were less than 6'3", but those guys are special. And that doesn't mean that he can't be special. There's a possibility that he will be, so I don't put a whole lot of stock in that kind of stuff. He's either going to make it or he's not, you know what I mean? But he's got a lot of other good attributes that I think are going to pull him through. So we'll see. At number 1, at the quarterback position, I like Kenny Pickett. I know a lot of people do not like Kenny Pickett, but I like Kenny Pickett from the University of Pittsburgh. He's 6'3", 217 pounds. He did run the 40-yard dash. He ran in 4.73. 4.7, 4.6, that's usually your typical quarterback 40-yard dash time. So I'm not going to hold that against him too much. It's not slow. If you had a lineman running 4.7, you'd be praising him. So
faster than Jameis. Jameis was 4.9, right?
yeah, well, I mean, Jerry Rice ran a 4.6. This stuff doesn't bother me. People like to hear 40 times and heights and weights. So I give them just like everybody else does. It's not that it doesn't mean anything, but I don't put a whole bunch of stock in it, because the main thing with the quarterback is poise in the pocket. Really, poise in the pocket, escapability, accuracy downfield, arm strength to make all the throws. That's all I care about. You know, if he can run fast, that's great. If he can't run fast, then he probably won't be running much. You know, so that's the way I look at it. So I don't let that bother me. Of the other three guys that I named, this guy's probably the closest to the prototypical size. Yeah, he was a 4-year starter in college. That's a big deal. He's basically a pocket passer, just like Ritter. He's got good velocity and above average arm strength, not a cannon like Willis, but above average arm strength. He's capable of completing any throw anywhere in the field. He's got enough arm strength to get all that done. Sometimes he does get happy feet when he's in the pocket and he drifts around in the pocket or drifts back out of the pocket instead of stepping up in the pocket and buying more time to scan the field, or climbing the pocket, as some people say, so that he can scan the field better and buy himself more time as the rush goes by. I don't know what causes that. Maybe it's a little flaw in his concentration downfield or what have you, but it does tend to get him in trouble sometimes. So again, that's something he's going to have to work on. I don't see this guy, although I picked him as the number one, I don't see him as a first-year starter. Like the team that selects him, if they select him to be the starter right away, I'm not exactly sure he's going to be able to handle that. He strikes me more as a guy that if you let him sit behind a veteran for about a year, learn the system, he'll be much better and you'll get a lot more out of him. Malik Willis, on the other hand, even with his flaws, I think if he had to go to a team that needed him to play right away, he would survive a little bit better simply because of his mobility. Sounds weird, I know. I think Pickett is better overall. I just don't think he's better in the short term. I think he'll be better in the long term. But that's
am I right in that I think I heard them use Sam Darnold as a comp for Pickett?
I may have heard that. I may have heard that. And when I think about Sam Darnold, I can see the similarity. Darnold's a little bigger. But I can see those similarities. Why is that? Is that a bad thing for Pickett? Because
not necessarily, again, me, it's about processing, like you said, if he's doing it better than Sam Darnold started running a lot, wound up getting hurt,
Well, again, sometimes you find out a little bit more about a player than you actually knew, regardless of all the tests and the drills that they put these guys through. You get a guy in there, you teach him your system, something clicks, and before you know it, this guy who may have all the same physical attributes and the same type of college career as another quarterback who came into the NFL and didn't do well, all of a sudden it clicks for him. He can see, he can read. His pre-snap reads are much better. His post-snap decisions fall into place where the other guys didn't, and boom, you got a Pro Bowl quarterback. So, I don't. All I can do is set them up as how they look right now, and give my opinion on that. But yeah, in fact, that's why a lot of these scouting guys give names of other pro players that these guys remind them of. They'll say, oh yeah, he looks like this guy, or he throws the ball like this guy, or he has the same attributes as this guy. I didn't want to get into that because I don't want people to say, oh, man, he's going to be really good if he's like him, or he's not going to be that good if he's like him, you know. So I just left that part alone.
All right, so just to round it up again, your quarterbacks?
Round it up again. At number 4, I have Desmond Ridder out of Cincinnati. I have Matt Corral out of Ole Miss. I have Malik Willis out of Liberty, and Kenny Pickett out of University of Pittsburgh.
Awesome.
Okay, now let's move on to running back. This is not going to be a stellar running back year. I will tell you that right now. As mentioned quite a bit by us and other people, and especially around draft time, the running back position is not as valued as it used to be back in the day, generally speaking, nor is it as valued in the draft. Seldom will you see a running back taken in the first round nowadays. Maybe one, if at all. So again, keeping that in mind, I just took who I thought were the top 3, one of which may have the possibility, depending on need, to get selected in the first round. So without further ado, we will go to the running backs. At number 3, I had Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson is a running back out of Alabama. He's 6'2", 225. Wonderful size for a running back. He's not super fast. He runs a 4.53 40. This guy's a true power back. He's a bulldozer between the tackles. And if he gets outside, you have defenders on the flank, like maybe an outside linebacker or a corner out there. This guy will flatten them. He will run them over, okay? He has quick feet, especially for a guy his size, but he basically is a one-speed runner. He gets going, and he just doesn't stop until you somehow get him down or get him out of bounds. He does run a little high, but we've seen guys run high before, i.e. Eric Dickerson. So that doesn't mean a whole lot. 225 pounds, fits pretty good on a 6'2" frame. He's got decent speed. He's going to be tough to bring down. And the other thing he's going to need to work on is his hands are kind of below average. So if he wants to be a true 3-down back, he's going to have to be able to catch the ball, some kind of way. He might not have to be great at it. He might not have to be a quote unquote pass catching back, because basically everybody has a pass catching back, but it will enhance his ability to stay on the field if in fact he can improve his hands and catch the ball a little bit better. At number 2, I have Kenneth Walker. I believe it's Kenneth Walker the third. He's out of Michigan State, 5'11", 210 pounds. This guy runs a 4.38 40. So this cat can go. He's compact and he's powerful, along with the speed. His great speed and quickness through the hole on inside runs, and his burst to get outside and turn the corner are pretty tremendous. This guy can pretty much do it all. He's a good cutback runner. He can put his foot in the ground, change direction, things like that. But sometimes he looks for the cutback a little bit too soon, gets himself caught up in the wash, so to speak, gets himself in a little bit of trouble behind the line of scrimmage. But so, he's going to have to show a little bit of patience with that. That's funny. The first thing I think of when I talk about running back and patience is the name we just mentioned a few minutes ago, Le'Veon Bell. But that's funny how that comes up. But anyway, that's something that he's going to need to work on, and I'm sure they can coach him up with something like that. With his physical tools as a running back, they should have no problem fixing that little flaw in his running ability. He needs to work on his pass protection also, and his hands are not real reliable either. So again, the great running backs can not only run between the tackles and get outside, but can catch the ball in space and still make yardage. So that's something that the best backs can do. That's something that those two guys are going to have to work on. My number one running back is Breece Hall. Breece Hall is from Iowa State, 6 feet tall, 217 pounds. Nice size, nice size. Also fast, runs a 4.39 40-yard dash. He has size, endurance, and pass catching ability to be a consistent third down back. This is what everybody's looking for. That's why Breece Hall is my number one. There may be guys that are better pure runners, but this guy has a little bit of everything. He's got good vision, but only average quickness. So even though he's a good, you know, if he runs a 40 and 4.39, the guys can obviously run. He has speed, but he doesn't necessarily have quickness, which means he may not be shifty. His change of direction might not be quick, but he's a fast downhill runner. And, you know, being powerfully built like he is, that could be a good thing for him. He's got really soft hands, and the ability to catch the ball in space separates him from all the other backs of his stature. So anybody that's close to him in running ability, he's going to be a notch above because the kid can catch balls. So there you have it, my top 3 running backs. Number 1, Brian Robinson out of Alabama. Number 2, Kenneth Walker III out of Michigan State. And number 1 is Breece Hall from Iowa State.
I've heard Breece Hall mentioned in terms of the Buffalo Bills.
Really?
If they were able to get him, that would solve their running problem and take a lot of pressure off of Josh Allen. So I've heard that mentioned. You know,
they did some other things in reference to their run game. Well, first of all, Singletary really started getting going late in the season. They got somebody in free agency. Can't remember who that was, but yeah, offensively speaking, another running back would probably do them justice. He could fill that bill. I'm not exactly sure where they draft at, but again, if there's one running back that's going to get taken in the first round, it'd probably be him.
Yeah. It's interesting because they talked about it maybe being a shallow draft in terms of quarterbacks. I had not heard it in terms of running backs, though. So to hear that it's not really that deep of a class in terms of running backs is interesting.
Yeah, not in my opinion. I didn't see anybody that was really super, you know. So I tried to look for guys that I thought were going to be solid, that would be able to come in and contribute right away.
Does your reference information include HBCU players?
It does include them, but none of them were able to crack my lineups, so to speak.
No hidden gems they're pulling out of the HBCUs, eh?
I could dig for some, but if they're not near the top 5, they wouldn't belong on my list because that's what
you're doing. I understand.
Have to do.
All right.
You know.
All right. No Jerry Rices out there so far.
I'm going to be just as curious as everybody else is, and I'm sure that once the draft comes on, those guys that are calling the draft are going to make note of any HBCU guys that are up there. We might not hear a name until the 2nd or 3rd round, but if we hear a name in the 2nd round from Jackson State or Southern or whoever, that's a big deal. You know, that'll be a big deal. So
guess where you can find some information on that? The Ben and Barry on Facebook, on football Facebook page.
Absolutely.
I think I did put an article up just today, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
That was looking into that. All right, so that winds up the running backs.
Yep. Next up are the tight ends. Now, I kind of ran into the same issues with the tight ends. Oh, you know what? I didn't get a lot of information on this guy. I kind of ran into the same thing with the tight ends as far as not having that many really top guys at that position. Nobody's super outstanding. So I'm just going to give you the names and some little short information about these guys. Although they're all sort of kind of around the same size, which is close to prototypical tight end size, they each have little different flaws and little other things that kind of set them apart. So I'll go with number 4 first is Jalen Weidermeyer. He's out of Texas A&M. He's 6'5", 255. That's a big boy right there. He's got really great size. And along with great size, when you're tight end comes a really big catch radius. So that has to do with your wingspan, your hands, and all that. That size and catch radius makes him pretty intriguing. Unfortunately, he lacks speed, and he's only an average run blocker. So if I have him at number 4, that tells you a little something. And probably what it tells you, I know what it told me was, a lot of these tight ends coming out are either one way or the other. They're either receiving tight ends or they're run blockers who sometimes catch passes. The receiving tight ends seldom, but maybe every once in a while, may have to block in line on a running play, but not very often, which is really not that big a deal because most NFL teams are employing two different types of tight ends anyway, you know? But if you got a guy that can do both, obviously that's a plus. Number 3, I have Isaiah Likely. Isaiah Likely is from Coastal Carolina. He's 6'5", 245 pounds. Again, almost the same size as the other guy. He's a far better receiver than he is a run blocker. So he would be considered the receiving tight end that I spoke of. He has the ability to get downfield and make contested catches all over the field. So not a lot of tight ends go deep all the time. You got your Kittles and your Andrews and guys like that. This guy is of that mold. Okay, he can get outside. He goes across the middle. He does go deep. He plays more like a big wide receiver than an actual tight end, even though he has tight end size. And obviously, he needs to improve on his run blocking if he's going to be more well-rounded, of course. Depending on the team that picks him, though. I mean, if he plays really well in the pass game and he shows that he can run his routes and catch the ball, blocking in the run game won't be that important. You know what I mean? But we'll see what happens there. Number 2, Jeremy Ruckert. Jeremy Ruckert is from Ohio State. Ohio State tight end, 6'5", 250. Again, right around that same size. Great combination of height, weight, and this guy's got a little bit of speed on him. He's an explosive run blocker. Here we go. Got a really good run blocker here. But unfortunately, he's only an average route runner. He has above average hands, though, but he doesn't produce a lot of yak. So I would call him, I would say he's more valuable. That's why I have him at number 2 than the 2 guys I named before him, because he can catch, he can get open, and he's an explosive run blocker. So he's the type of tight end that you can keep him on the field. It's just that he's not going to make those really big splash plays for you, but he can get in a route and he can catch the ball. He may not get you a lot of yak afterwards, but he can help you move the sticks. So that's going to be important for any team that decides to select him. And number 1 is Trey McBride. Now, you might want to remember this name because I believe this guy really will be the first tight end taken. His name is Trey McBride. He's from Colorado State. He's 6'4", 260. Again, prototypical size, good strength. This guy's got really good ball skills. That means he knows how to go up and get it. He's got really good hands. That's what ball skills mean when you hear me say that. Not much speed, but a solid route runner with good body control and really great hands, really great hands. This kid can catch. He's focused when he's running routes in traffic, and he's productive after the catch. There's that yak that those other guys weren't getting you. he'll get it for you. He's a nasty run blocker with the physical tools to get fundamentally better. So this guy out of the bunch seems the guy that's most prepared to be able to handle the passing game and the run game better than all the other guys. The only thing he's really lacking is speed, okay? And how many tight ends are there out there that really have speed? You know what I'm saying? He's a really good route runner. He has great hands, nasty run blocker, like I said, all the physical tools to just progress as he goes in the passing game and in the running game. I think this guy will definitely be the number 1 tight end taken. So quick review. Number 4, Jalen Weidermeyer from Texas A&M. Isaiah Likely from Coastal Carolina. Jeremy Ruckert from Ohio State. And Trey McBride, who's from Colorado State. And that's it for the tight ends. Now,
it's weird when you were talking about this group being mostly guys who can either be a receiver or a blocker.
Yes.
And if you think about your probably three of your top tight ends, if you included Gronk, if you include Kittle, and my man from Kansas City,
Andrews and Kelsey. Can't forget the Ravens.
Well, I was saying 3, so I had to
okay.
choose one or the other. But they're both really good. But Kelsey doesn't do a lot of blocking.
Nope.
He probably does the least blocking of the 3. Gronk does both really well.
Yes.
And Kittle does both really well.
Yes.
Funny thing about Kittle is when I was reading about the contracts and even and I think it was in the conversation about Deebo, and they were saying about the Niners giving like a big contract to Kittle, and because he had like all these receptions, and they gave him the contract, and the next year his receptions dropped, and I'm like, have you watched them? Have you watched them play?
Yeah, that's usage. His usage.
The way they use him, yeah, it's the same thing like with Deebo. It's the way they use him,
right?
So, and it's just funny that somebody would try to use that as an argument for him not being worth the money that they paid him. But my opinion on that has been that they're underutilizing him, and that he should be used to control spacing on the field a lot more. So that's a whole nother thing. We won't go there. My little Niner problem.
Man, we got to get you and Shanahan together, bro.
Yes, we do. We
really do. We really do. Because
I'd like to have a little conversation with Shanahan.
You and I go back and forth about a lot of things, okay? But I find that when you're talking about your team, you got some real valid takes. I usually, me, I'm always like, well, there's a reason why he's the head coach. That's me, right? But I hear what you say as a fan, and I find it intriguing sometimes. I wish I could make that happen for you. I really do. But anyway.
That's interesting. Thank you very much. Okay, who's up next?
Let's go with offensive linemen next.
Oh.
And this was interesting to me because at first I was going to separate interior offensive linemen, meaning centers and guards, and then go with the tackles afterward. Like I did on defense with the interior defensive guys, nose tackles and defensive tackles, and I separated the edge rushers. But I decided not to do that. And the reason was, as I was going through my names and looking at different film and stuff like that, I was noticing that a lot of offensive linemen play more than one position. You got guys that play center and guard. You got guys that play guard and tackle, especially coming out of college, or they have, out of necessity, played one position or the other during their college career. So they carry that with them into the NFL. So really what they end up playing in the NFL is probably going to be determined by the team that takes them and what they need from them. So once I realized that, I said to myself, you know what? I'm just going to take the top guys, regardless of position, whether I even know for sure what their position is going to be or not. These are going to be the top guys that I think that will be selected as offensive linemen. And I tell you what, as I'm looking at these guys, and I picked 4, and my top 4 guys could all possibly go in the first round. Number one, because all 4 of them are really big, dynamic players. And number 2, almost every doggone team in the league needs offensive line help. Some more than others. So with that being said, let's get started. At number 4, I have Charles Cross out of Mississippi State. This kid is 6'5", 307 pounds. You think that's big? You ain't heard nothing yet. But we'll still talk about Charles Cross. So he's projected to play at either tackle spot, either right tackle or left tackle. Chances are, depending on the team that selects him, he will probably end up being a left tackle, especially if he goes in the first round. He's not a great athlete for his position, but he's very technically sound. He has elite hand placement. So, offensive linemen have to use their hands when they block. He also has superior arm length, which helps in pass protection. He's a very explosive run blocker. So he's got run blocking and pass protecting down pretty much to a science. He does have trouble sometimes with speed rushers coming off the edge at him. And he does get fooled probably more often than not with teams that stunt and run twists and stunts where the edge rusher will slice and the inside lineman will come around the outside. He gets fooled sometimes, at least enough for it to be noted on tape. I've seen it, and people point it out because other than that, he has very few flaws. He looks really great. So again, that's number 4. That's Charles Cross. He will play either left tackle or right tackle, depending on the team that selects him. At number 3, I have Tyler Linderbaum. I know you've heard his name. They talk about him quite a bit on television. He's out of Iowa. He's 6'3", 295 pounds. This guy is the unquestioned number 1 center in this year's draft. He has a wrestling background that allows him to play with really good leverage, and he has really good body control when he's blocking. He has elite snap quickness, and he gets his snap hand up where it needs to be very quickly, regardless of whether he's got a rusher straight on him or through the A-gaps on either side. He is not the greatest shotgun snapper. That's important because almost everybody, I'm not going to say almost everybody, every team in the NFL used the pistol or the shotgun somewhere along the line in their offense, some of them quite a bit. So that's something he's going to have to work on. And he does have some trouble with bull rushing nose tackles. But other than that, he's very technically sound. It could be, the trouble with the bull rushers could be a strength issue. Maybe he needs to put on a couple more pounds or hit the weight room a little bit harder. I don't know. But his wrestling background helps him out a lot because, again, he can handle these guys as they're trying to get by him. That's Tyler Linderbaum. Number 2, Evan Neal out of Alabama. This guy is a monster. 6'8", 350 pounds. Jeez, wow, that's crazy. That's like, I think I told you the story about the time I went to the Eagles camp back in the day, and I got close to Trey Thomas. Holy crap. Trey Thomas was 6'8", 3 something. That was the biggest person I've ever been near in my life. And I've been next to basketball players that are like 6'9" and 6'10", but a 6'8", 300-pound person just seems to be bigger. The dude is just massive, okay? So Evan Neal is that kind of guy. He projects as a left or right tackle, again, depending on the team that selects him. If he goes in the first round, it's probably because they need him to be a left tackle. He's very technically sound in both the run and pass blocking. He moves his feet really well. He has good hand placement, just like I talked about with Linderbaum. He's physically imposing, but he has had some issues with his weight, believe it or not, and sometimes doesn't play with consistent attitude. That I don't like to hear. That I really don't like to hear, but I think that's something that can be fixed. Again, he played at Alabama, so that means he played against elite talent just about every week in the SEC. Maybe he's so good that he took some plays off. I don't know, but it's the NFL now, so he's going to have to clean that up, and they'll put incentives in his contract for him to watch his weight so he doesn't get too heavy. So I'm not worried about that. I think Evan Neal is going to be a great pro. And number one is Akeem, which they've been calling him Icky Ekwonu from North Carolina State, NC State. He's 6'4", 320 pounds. I think this guy is probably between him and Evan Neal, depending on who's going to select them as to who they take first as an offensive lineman. He projects straight up as a left tackle, but he has played left guard also. Again, it depends on the team that selects him. I can't see anybody taking a guy high in the first round as an offensive lineman and making him a guard. They're going to make this kid a left tackle. He has the physical traits to be successful in any blocking scheme. Because you know, a lot of teams run different blocking schemes. Some guys run cut blockers and double teams, and they have stretch runs, they call them, and cut back stuff and all that stuff. This kid can play in any blocking scheme. He has great hand placement. He moves his feet extremely well. He also has a wrestling background, and he's a monster in the weight room. And that shows up when you watch him dominate people on the field. He's a real nice guy off the field, but he has no issues on the field with his attitude, like I mentioned with Evan Neal. This guy is a nasty you-know-what on the field. Unofficially, he led college football in pancake blocks last season, okay? That's been stated. Somebody took film and went back and counted or something and said this guy has so many pancake blocks, it was ridiculous to even think about looking at anybody else. He could use some improvement in his pass blocking, but I have nothing to complain about when it comes to that. This guy, to me, is head and shoulders the number one offensive lineman coming out.
His number wouldn't happen to have been 79, would it?
79. Bro, I've been looking at so much video. I can't.
I only say it because there was a guy they had on TV. He was 79, and he would pancake 3 guys on one play. It was like,
yeah, it was either him or Neil Cross.
It just looked like he kind of just moved up on somebody and they went down, and he rolled up on somebody. They go. Yeah. It didn't look like he was doing a whole bunch of pushing and shoving, and he was just rolling up on people.
Yeah, he's a road grader. He's definitely a road grader. He is somebody that you do not want to get in front of on a run play. It's just that simple.
All right.
And he gets to the second level. So linebackers got to be aware of him too.
Oh, yeah. If it was that guy, he definitely got to the second level. All right, so give us your roundup.
Number 4, Charles Cross, probably end up playing left tackle. Number 3, Tyler Linderbaum, the unquestioned number 1 center. That's locked down. Number 2, Evan Neal will probably also end up playing left tackle. And number 1, Icky Ekwonu from NC State, definitely a left tackle. So know, there's going to be some teams out there that are going to really shore up their offensive lines in the first round by taking them. I believe that all 4 of them will be taken in the first round.
All righty. All righty. We got the big boys out the way.
Yep. And now it's time for everybody's favorites, the wide receivers. This one was hard to do. This one was really hard to do because everybody's fast. Well, just about everybody is fast. Just about everybody's got really good size. And everybody was a star of their team. I mean, this is a tough one. This was a tough one. And I could have made this list 10 players deep easily. But I tried to limit it to guys that I thought had the best chance of going in the first round. So I'm sure you've heard all of these names. I'm sure one of them is going to, at least one of them is going to be a surprise. And if I start with number 4, that first one won't be a surprise because we talked about him already, because a friend of ours happens to like this guy and hopes that the Eagles select him. And his name is Drake London. So my number 4 receiver is Drake London. He's out of USC. He's 6'5", 220 pounds. He did not run or do any vertical jumping or anything like that at the combine due to an injury. And then he had his pro day when he could actually, run routes and do other drills, but he didn't do any running or jumping at his pro day either. I don't know why. Obviously, I looked at film. He is not a speed burner by any stretch of the imagination, but this guy runs really good routes. He was a top flight high school basketball player. He's long. He's polished at body positioning and high pointing the ball. He's going to win 50-50 ball situations more times than not, and he thrives on the outside on short and intermediate routes, but he kind of lacks the speed and the quickness to be a factor downfield. So that's the only shortcoming in this guy's game. I looked at a ton of film on this guy, and seldom did I see him go over the middle, and seldom did I see him catch a bomb. But when it comes to contested passes, comeback routes on the sidelines, fades up the sideline, curl routes just outside the hashes, things like that, this kid's hard to stop. Real smooth route runner, even though he's not fast, uses his height really, really well, and has great hands. So that's Drake London. He's my number 4 guy. Number 3, Jameson Williams. This is the speed burner out of Alabama who got injured during the national championship game. If this guy didn't get injured in the national championship game, there's a real good chance he would be my number 1 or number 2. 6'2", 190 pounds, good height, good size, ran a 4.25 40. 4.25, crazy. And he's got a 32-inch vertical. I didn't get a vertical on Drake London because he didn't do one at his pro day or at the combine. But this kid's got a 32-inch vertical. He's got elite speed, no doubt about it. Home run hitter versus zone coverage, and he can eat up a DB's cushion and create separation on any deep route, okay? So even if you're in zone coverage, you say, okay, this guy's fast, let me back up a little bit. This kid will get on you quick, and he will run by you. He is that fast. He's long-limbed with a large catch radius, and he produces yak whenever he catches the ball, especially on the run. He has some trouble getting off the line versus press coverage. But when he gets off the line, if you're playing him man-to-man, you better probably have somebody over the top because this kid has track speed. He will just take you downfield. He does have a little bit of trouble tracking the ball in the air, especially if he has to come back for the ball on passes that are a little underthrown or back shoulder type stuff. That's something that he could probably work on and get better at. And he's got below average strength when fighting for 50-50 balls. That's important, probably because he's long and lanky. You know, some of these DBs out here are pretty rough customers, And if he's got a 50-50 ball on the sideline, they've got a better chance of wrestling it away from him than him coming up with it. So again, strength could be an issue for him. At number 2, this is going to be a surprise, but I always have a favorite. And my favorite is Jahan Dotson from Penn State. He's 5'11", 180 pounds. Not great size, but obviously good enough. He runs a 4.43, which is pretty quick. He's got a 36-inch vertical. Very nice. Probably the best vertical out of the bunch here, as far as I can see what I got here. Yes. He is a finesse route runner with very good speed and great athleticism. I'll tell you right off the bat, when we were doing comparisons or talking about doing comparisons with other guys that are already in the NFL, this guy compares to another Penn State running back who plays for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Chris Godwin. They're like twins to me. Maybe it's me, but if you like Chris Godwin, you're going to love Jahan Dotson. He has elite ball skills and can really go up and get it. It's great leaping ability. He's got large, strong hands, and he's got that strength to fight for 50-50 balls that I said Williams did not have. Dotson has it. He runs nice routes on all 3 levels, short, intermediate, and deep, but he works better on the outside than between the hashes. I don't think this guy is going to translate to a slot receiver. He will probably be an outside guy. But again, depending on the team that selects him, they can work that into his game because he runs really nice routes regardless, all over the field. He can sometimes be brought down by arm tackles in the open field. I had to search for a flaw on this guy, and that's all I could pretty much come up with that really made sense to me and matched up with some of the film that I saw. That doesn't bother me at all. So, I really like Jahan Dotson. Number 1, Chris Olave from Ohio State. 6'1", 190, ran a 4.39 40, and has a 32-inch vertical. Smooth route runner. He's got great speed. He excels on short and intermediate and deep routes. He has great ball skills, but he does need to add strength to fight off physical DBs and win in those 50-50 ball situations. So again, Dotson has a better vertical and stronger hands to fight off the defensive backs than Olave or Jameson Williams. Guys that are faster than him, but are missing that one trait that every NFL wide receiver is going to have to deal with. Contested balls is a big deal in the NFL because these DBs, they're sticky, man. Whether they're coming up hard out of the zone or whether they're playing your man-to-man coverage, you're going to have to fight for some balls sometimes. So Olave's got to work on that. Consistency, beating press coverage is going to be an issue for him a little bit too. Although he's fast, just like Williams out of Alabama, some of these DBs are fast and they're pretty big. So when they press him, he's going to have to work to get off, but that's something they can coach him up on. He's got elite top end speed on deep routes. That's not an issue. And he's able to separate on short and intermediate routes. That's because, again, he's a very smooth route runner. So he can get open regardless of the situation. His lack of physicality and his hand strength are the only flaws that I could really come up with. So that's the wide receivers. Again, number 4, Drake London out of USC. Number 3, Jameson Williams out of Alabama, the speediest guy in the group. Number 2, my favorite, Jahan Dotson out of Penn State. And number 1, Chris Olave from Ohio State. And that takes care of the offense in the NFL draft, which takes place, I believe, on the 28th of this month.
I kept listening for a guy who could replace Deebo for my Niners, and I didn't hear him. It seemed like there was always either a strength issue or something like that that was in place, but plenty of speed, man. Plenty of speed there. Wow. Okay. Well, all right. That was an awesome roundup of the offense, all the different positions on the offense, tight end, running back, wide receivers, linemen, and quarterbacks. So out of all of those positions, the deepest position as far as you were concerned would have been what, the lineman?
I think overall, offensive line is going to be, and again, we're talking about early selections, first round, possibly second round. You're going to see a bunch of offensive linemen go. You're going to see a bunch of defensive linemen go. You're going to see a bunch of receivers go. That's the way I see it. There'll be some D-backs mixed in, maybe possibly one running back, maybe possibly two quarterbacks, because somebody's going to be smart and take Pickett because they won't have to use him right away. And somebody that's going to need somebody right away is going to take Malik Willis. That's just me. That's the way I see it.
Well, you know, Malik Willis was a sentimental favorite for me from the point where they had the video of him giving his stuff away to a homeless person.
Yes.
I was like, somebody needs to just get that guy a contract just because.
Well, but that's a plus on his side also, because they're saying that was real. This guy is a genuine, great guy in the locker room, great culture type dude. You know, teams are looking for those kind of players, especially at quarterback. So that's a definite plus for him.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. All right. Well, that wraps up the lead-in to the Dickerson mock draft, which we'll go into in way more detail next week. How could we go further into detail than we already did, man?
Bro, you won't believe. You won't believe. My brother is a savant. I'm telling you, man, it's crazy. He lives for the NFL draft.
Well, that's my man. I'm definitely looking forward to having a chance to interact with him and get a few laughs in, mess with him a little bit. Before you go, this is playoff basketball. You got something to say about your squad?
I'm loving the Sixers right now. Somehow they have fumbled their way into perfect positioning to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. You got all the teams. You had teams tanking games in the last week of the season so that they didn't have to see certain teams. And now they're going to end up seeing them anyway, probably. I love these matchups. I tell you what, I don't think that the Nets are going to be able to take the Celtics. I think the Celtics are going to win that series. I really do.
They were beating up on the Celtics right before we went on the air.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. See, again, all they have to do is Durant go off for whatever, and they're cool. You know, he cures all ills. But their lack of defense is going to hurt them in the long run. It just is. You know, that's the way I see it. Their lack of and their lack of size, because the Celtics big man will be back for game 3, or at least he's supposed to be. So they won't have anybody to deal with him at all. You know, that's another element that the Nets, who already don't play defense, are going to have to deal with. I know you like Ja Morant and the Grizzlies. I was a little bit surprised at how they went down in that first game, but they came right back the other night. That'll probably go 7. That's going to be a heck of a series. I can't even really think.
Second best net point win margin. They were in the. I did the 3 teams that had the top point differentials.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't do.
Who are the other 2 teams?
Huh?
Who are the other 2 teams?
I believe it was the Celtics.
Okay.
It was the Grizzlies,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe it was the Suns.
The Suns. Okay.
Yeah. I believe it was the Suns. Okay. So that was interesting. You know, I'm a Bulls fan. I don't think my Bulls is going to get too far You know, they have a challenge playing upper level teams, and that's all that's left now that we're into the playoffs. So, you know,
Yeah.
whatever I get from them, I'm just happy to see them get a chance to run around and see who's out there. But I don't even know what we need at this particular point, so I'm not even going to go there. Again, Morant, I just think he's fun to watch, and that was the main reason I was talking about. I hope that they go far, but they have a team that I don't think anybody on that team 8 to 9 deep is afraid to shoot at any particular point.
Not only that, they're all young. They're all, I don't want to say they're playing over their heads, but they are darn well coached, man. That team.
What I don't see is I see guys, they get the ball at the foul line, there's nobody around them, and they're looking around for somebody to pass the ball to. I'm like,
right.
Foul shot, dude.
Right.
It's a foul shot. I don't see that a lot from the Grizzlies.
Right.
You give them an open shot, they're gonna take it.
Yeah.
They're gonna take it. So that's what I liked about them. Didn't like to see
Devin Booker.
Yeah. I was sad to see that. You know, that's
I sad to see that too, but they played without him before. They'll be fine.
Well, this is playoff time.
They'll be fine.
They are okay.
They're hands down the best team in the league.
Okay. Well, he's money, you know, and that's a heck of a void. If they can fill that, then that's saying a lot for that team, especially playing in the playoffs.
Yeah,
for sure.
If they were in the Eastern Conference, I'd be a little bit more worried. But out west, they can handle all them teams. Even
our friend predicted that Toronto would sweep would beat the Sixers in 5. So he's already had to call back and say, okay, that's not going to happen.
I have no comment.
But
you ever hear the expression, if you throw enough ish on the wall, some of it will finally stick?
Some of it will stick.
Yeah.
I think if they can get consistent play out of Maxey, it's over, man. They're going straight to the.
Then it's over then. He's one of the most consistent guys on the doggone team.
He's had a few games where he kind of, but you know, I said he was the third of the big 3. So, you know, I'm looking forward to him being there.
He hasn't had enough games where he was kind of to even talk about it. Tobias Harris, that's another story.
That's why I did not mention him.
Exactly. So considering the fact that, you know, it's a game, anybody can be. Shoot, Durant was off the other night. He had the ball stolen from him like 5 times. He's fumbling the ball, fumbling passes, bouncing it off his knee. Then he'll come back and he'll score 55 on you. So it doesn't matter. That, you know, you don't worry about stuff like that. And right now, Maxey's playing like that. Like, he's playing really fearless, really fast. He's got everybody on the team's confidence, and it shows, you know. And he's not the kind of guy that if he comes out and he's cold early, that he's going to shoot himself out of the game, because he does so many other things well, like attack the basket, you know, run the break, get the ball to Harden. If he does have a bad game and Harden scores 26, 27, 28, we'll be fine.
Well, that's why you have a big 3, so that, you know, 2 out of those guys can usually offset one guy is not working too well. So, all right. Well, good luck with that. That wraps up Ben and Barry on football for April 30th, 2022. Again, I remind those that are looking at us on YouTube to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so that you'll know when we put out a new video. And next week, we'll be looking forward to doing an actual Dickerson Brothers mock draft. You haven't seen anything till you've seen one of those. Last words, Mr. Dickerson?
Just be prepared to make sure after we're done here that you talk to the producers and the editors and make sure that they get that thing out as quickly as possible, because the day we record will be the day before the actual draft. So I want people to have it on hand when the draft begins and they can see how well we did.
Oh, one last thing I'll quickly mention. I did see that the the Philadelphia area flag tournament is starting to promote that. Blade Brown put out something on
Oh,
that.
the Philly Bowl.
The Philly Bowl.
Yes, they've changed the location. It was actually in Delaware last season. Pretty good venue, lots of fields. It was really nice. It was hot as all heck, but it was really nice event. And this year they found a complex of fields out in the Conshohocken area, which is a little closer for Philadelphia teams. Easy to get to for out of town teams, especially the teams coming up from DC and Maryland. You know, and come right on up the, what do you call it, and get right on the thingy thing and go to Conshohocken, no big deal, no city driving.
Yeah.
So yeah, looking forward to that. That'll be in August.
All right. All right. Last words?
Go Noles.